Welcome to Behind the Ballot, where politics meets real life. We break down state and federal issues, showing how policy shapes everyday Americans. Engaged, balanced, and informative. That's our promise. I'm your host, Mikkel Jenkins.
And this is Muhammad Ali joining in after a hectic weekend of events, plus some, because we had a long weekend ourselves. Mikhail, I hope you had a good Memorial Day weekend. To all those listening, I hope you
Yes.
guys did as well, you girls and gals, well, guys and gals, them of the American way. Now, let's get right underway, Mikhail. Why don't you start off with what we got first underhand for tonight?
So, since we last talked, yes, as Mohammed stated, I hope everyone was able to enjoy their Memorial Day weekend and was actually able to keep their head above the news headlines because I was not able to. My head was pretty much dug into a lot of what was going on so that we can bring this episode for our listeners today. And we're going to be covering a decent amount on the domestic side. On the international side, we're just going to be covering, as always, the new developments with the Trump Iran drama and the strategic shifts, as well as trickling into what's going on with Israel, as well as the implications from that China summit, I believe 2 weeks ago.
I wish we could have
On the
like a soundboard where like we had like
Yeah,
Dennis Reynolds, the implications connected to it. So like anytime we said implications in these like speeches in our episodes, we could just like hit the. You ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia, MJ?
yeah, I have. Yeah,
Yeah, have you seen the episode where Dennis is talking to everyone about why they need a boat, and
yes, yes.
he's like, it's because of the implications. I wonder how much of that is what's going on right now, in terms of what Trump is trying to do with this Iran deal in terms of the market. It's because like the implication is clear that he doesn't really care about the deal itself. He just cares about the market, really, and more than anything, the
Yeah,
oil.
pretty much. I mean, everything is a weekend basis when it comes to tweets, announcements on the deal specifically. Any progress on the deal is always hinted at between Thursday to Friday, between Wednesday to Friday, basically, to try to manipulate markets as best as the president can in time for Monday. But then
Honestly,
on
in
the
my mind, if he really wanted to make a deal, he could. But I think he's bringing in a lot of these very tough to negotiate points and deals, like completely involving the nuclear portion of the deal, which is off the table right now because that wasn't even associated with the war. The
Yeah,
war is a separate thing.
100%.
Like you can't just bring both into one when you're already in this position. I think
Yeah, no,
realistically,
without
if
a
he
doubt.
actually wanted to end it, he would take it one step at a time. But I think he doesn't want to for more than a few reasons.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to either, but we are going to touch on that next. But just getting to what we're going to speak about on the domestic front, just looking at Vance's 2028 reconsiderations, Rubio rise, as well as we've been pretty spot on with these resignations. So we are going to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. We'll also talk about Trump Memorial Day appearance, as well as what's going on health wise with him going to Walter Reed this week, as well as the security incident with the White House ballroom, and then finishing off with tech and AI, the job impacts, what's going on with the Pope and his crusade on AI, which I'm fully for. And then we're also, as we always do, talk about a lot of that legislative gridlock that we are seeing left behind from the Senate and the House as they are both in recess until next week, actually. So, and then as we always have added our new miscellaneous section, various, I think, three or four things that we have added as well. So, just going to get jump started in with the Trump Iran deal, all the drama behind it, and the strategic shifts. So, with the biggest international story right now, the Trump administration is deep in high stakes negotiations with Iran. President Trump stated on Saturday that a broader agreement has been largely negotiated with a major focus on reopening the Strait of Hormuz to stabilize global oil flows and ease high fuel prices as the Memorial Day weekend was just starting. And this follows recent U.S. self defense strikes by CENTCOM, on Iranian missile sites near Bandar Abbas and IRGC boats laying mines in the strait as well. Iran is pushing back strongly, insisting Tehran would still control passage routes, permits, timing, and access, even under any new arrangement. That speaks to that law that they put together a few weeks ago that we've reported on this podcast that would allow for monies to be sent to Iran in the form of toll fees for tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz. That original fee was about $2 million, but I have heard recently that they are going to kind of change the name of it and make it a environmental toll, actually, which is interesting to think that they're going to turn it on its head instead of it making it a tanker toll. It's going to be environmental toll, which is interesting to point.
Yeah.
But Trump is demanding, unfortunately, the full dismantlement of Iran's nuclear program and removal of all enriched uranium, while Iran is calling for the release of $24 billion in frozen assets, with half accessible immediately. And this is kind of to what Muhammad was touching on, that that is a very big sticking point for Iran. They will not sign an agreement that has any implications on their enrichment, whether it is them stopping enrichment or taking what they already have and sending it to another country. That is not going to be the case at
Yeah.
all. And then Trump went even further and stated that he would want the Gulf countries to basically sign an agreement in recognizing of Israel as a legitimate country.
That's never gonna
Those two
happen.
things,
That's
that is
never gonna happen.
never, yeah,
Never
that's
gonna happen.
never going to happen. They
Saudi
will
Arabia will
never,
continue to like emphasize the UN 67 borders. All the Arab countries will, maybe except with like a
yeah,
very rare possibility of one who's a deep like deep friend of Israel, but that's about most.
yeah,
But
it's not going
that's
to
what I
happen.
mean. Like, if he wanted to make a deal, he wouldn't be including these extremely out of not even involved in the situation, but difficult to agree to in the first place, even without it being tied to this agreement points. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that, it's been stated multiple times IRGC and the Supreme Leader will not bend to this, but the only one asking for this is Israel. And we're going to get into them next and really what's going on there and what's been put out recently as, Netanyahu states he has no influence with President Trump, but you do hear Trump stating that he's not going to make a deal unless it's good for Israel. You have individuals in Israel media stating that they are not going to let Trump make a deal if it does not benefit Israel. So it's really hard to think that Israel does not have some kind of hold on this administration, because the two sticking points, all these negotiations really are coming from Israel. One, the enrichment that we talked about, as well as the recognizing of Israel by the other Gulf countries. Now, there has been a proposed memorandum of understanding which could extend a ceasefire for 60 days as broader talks continue on sanction relief and nuclear issues. Trump has negotiated this as basically these things are moving nicely, and as these negotiations have taken place, but conflicting messages persist, with some reports noting the deal appears tilted toward Tehran and certain control aspects. This is why when Trump was talking about this deal over the weekend, you had a lot of pushback from media voices basically stating that this would be a strategic failure on the United States, because the memorandum of understanding at the point over the weekend was that Iran would operate the Strait in their own new system. We would have been giving them the releasing of their frozen funds, which is over,
yeah,
mind you, over the amount that Republicans were grilling Democrats over Obama's $2 billion that was flown over, even though that was due to a legal court case from the 1980s. So, looking at $24 billion in possible unfrozen funds given to the IRGC Iran, as well as them solidifying their hold on the Strait of Hormuz. And fun fact, I mean, the Strait of Hormuz was open and operating perfectly fine
yeah,
under both Obama and Biden, with even Obama nixing, not even nixing, sorry,
Even during Bush
pinning
too. Don't
the
include
original deal. Yeah, even during
during
Bush,
during Bush
like,
too.
yeah, I mean, during all these individuals that Trump touts were weak against Iran, X, Y, and Z, you see here that they weren't weak, that they were diplomatically strong and were able to get deals across the border done to not allow for the levels of impact that we're really seeing on the global and domestic market. And before I get into Israel's reaction, really, Muhammad, what do you have on this part?
Then I already touched on it a little bit that this is really a situation where he doesn't actually want to end the war. I mean, I think that aside from the the broader Israel involvement, which we'll get into in a second, they further in detail. I think that it's also that there's some part of that. I don't know if it's him personally wanting to just have some kind of. We see him make posts about this a lot, where he, like just tries to make these grand gestures, like he's like a very famous president, one of the most liked presidents to ever exist, things like that notion. I think
Yeah.
that a part of it that is also fueling him is his ego, where he wants to have this like big win over a large U.S. adversary.
I agree. It's not going to happen, unfortunately.
Yeah,
It's
and
not
I
going to
mean,
happen.
unless it's difficult to come to terms with what a victory means in modern day war. I mean, are you going to apply like a full on
Yes,
invasion
yes,
where we
I would
destroy the
agree.
country and conquer them? Or are we going to destroy their energy systems and then leave their citizens to rot? Or are we going to
Yeah.
destroy their military bases and leave them completely defenseless? Like, what's victory here? And I think that
Hmm.
there wasn't a clear definition of that going into this, and a lot of this was just more sprung on the fly, as as we've talked about before as well, with that one PowerPoint that Netanyahu gave to some of the
Yes,
Trump
this
admin and Trump
spectacular
himself,
PowerPoint.
yeah, which he gave to the Obama admin as well, and they rejected the idea.
Yeah.
So it's clear that this decision was not really based off of U.S. intelligence backing up. I mean, we've seen Tulsi Gabbard. We're also getting to her later into the episode.
Yeah.
Tulsi
Yeah, we've
Gabbard
been
has said
spot on
repeat.
with these resignations. We've been very much spot on with these
Yeah,
resignations.
I mean, months ago, she stated how U.S. intelligence was
Hmm.
not showing that Iran was months away from a nuclear weapon. At most, they're like the
Yeah.
closest was like a little bit over a year. This is the closest what they
Hmm.
were at,
Mind you,
based off
while
U.S.
under
estimates.
oath as well.
Yeah,
While under oath, she stated that, and the president refuted everything that she stated and launched this war. But as
and
Muhammad was speaking
I want
to,
to finish this.
yeah,
I want to finish my what I
yeah,
was giving. And I think that what we're going to see here is that he may try to use the media or what his own means of it to really try to garner an idea that the U.S. has won this war. But I don't think that with how high gas is, I think that's really like the medium, the easy way that the American people are like seeing the effects of everything. And then once
yeah,
things start getting even tougher economically, which this high gas prices and this continued war will begin to cause even further and further damage to the supply chain in terms of the cost that's based into it. And I think that we're going to just start seeing more and more people fed up with this. And I mean, I think that when we pulled out of Afghanistan, I mean, you can argue that maybe we should have. How we set up the government there was poorly done. We're not a country that's
oh
good at
yeah, it was
government
100%,
building. Yeah,
100% poorly
we could
done.
have done that a lot better. But I think that after our cleared failed attempt, there wasn't much more we could do. So I think pulling out was the best idea. I have my own complaints about that. I think they should have destroyed a lot more of the equipment. So a common thing they do in war is if you aren't able to use your equipment, you completely just destroy it so the enemy can. They
Yeah,
and so the U.S. left a lot of working equipment behind, which was an issue. But aside from that, I think the failure, the backing out of Afghanistan, taking that loss was absolutely the best decision there. And I
oh
think that
yeah,
in
I
a
mean,
similar
yeah,
case, it's just best to. I don't think it'll happen because of why he's doing this even in the first place. But I think easily, without a doubt, the best option is to say, all right, we're done here. Even just try to lie about it. We've achieved what we want to achieve. And if people ask what did you achieve, you can just lie about it. But point being is
yeah,
just getting out of
100%.
there is like the only
Was the
way to
top
really get things to
cost,
go
honestly.
back to normal in terms of the impact on the American civilian.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, people have actually started to state that Donald Trump has actually taken three L's on three different fronts. One that you're talking about, with the Taliban, us pulling out, the disaster that was, as well. Second one would be currently Iran. The
Yeah.
third one would be Taiwan. I mean, China and Taiwan, which we're going to get into after we
A
discuss
bit a bit of a
Israel
prediction
a
there.
bit. But yeah, people are stating that those are the three fronts that Donald Trump is actually strategically has lost on. I mean, you can throw in the Kurds in there too, because mind you, we did give them weapons and they basically said, yeah, no, we're not going to do what you want us to do. That still did happen.
Yeah.
But
Which I think is really
yes, it's
funny to think
interesting
about.
how people are categorizing Trump's military operations across these various countries as failures and not successes. But now we're going to move into Israel's reaction and Netanyahu's update. So Israel remains furious with any perceived concessions in a potential U.S. Iran deal. As we stated, Israel has been pretty much all but sidelined in a lot of these negotiations that have started to take place. But we still know that they have somewhat of a say because the major two sticking points then being the removal of enrichment and now the newly ask of recognizing of Israel from these Gulf states all come from Israel. You wouldn't see Qatar, Kuwait, UAE, any of them asking for the recognizing of Israel as a means to end this war. So yes, it's stated out there that Israel is not having any say in what's going on, but their sticking points are very much the thorn in all of these negotiations.
Yeah.
And on top of all of this, you have with
I mean,
President Trump
and
just
I just
went to
want to add
Walter
like
Reed.
an
Yeah.
example of a detail that Israel has like extremely been against that was included in the peace deal originally, is that in the original ceasefire between Iran and the United States that Pakistan was a mediator for, one of the key terms that was included in that was that part of the ceasefire was that Israel would cease its actions in southern Lebanon. And
Yes. Yeah.
Pakistan, the mediator, confirmed yes, these were part of the terms. And then Israel, the day that ceasefire was signed, struck southern Lebanon and said we weren't agree with the terms of the deal, and we don't agree
Yeah.
with them in the first place. So they just continued to do whatever they
Yeah.
want.
Yeah, it's very much as these current negotiations have been a lot of hearsay left and right.
Yeah,
Even Pakistan doubled down and stated that no, that was what was agreed upon regarding the Lebanon and Israel ceasefire, then not attacking southern Lebanon. But yes, as Mohammed stated, they did anyway.
yeah.
And with all of this going on, just as you've had President Trump be admitted to Walter Reed earlier today. You also have Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was recently admitted to a medical center in Jerusalem. His office describes it as routine dental work rather than an emergency, following past procedures like prostate treatment, radiation for early stage prostate cancer in April 2026, and a 2023 pacemaker. So this has reignited scrutiny over his health disclosures amid ongoing security issue challenges. As you know, he is on trial for corruption, and these health issues have allowed him to stay out of court because of that, as well as with this ongoing war. So it'll be interesting to see as the months go on. Will his health get worse or will it get better? And that can also tie into how desperate and how more increasingly Israel will be in their push for no enrichment from Iran, as well as them getting recognized by the Gulf states. Because if Netanyahu is knocking on the door, you can bet he's going to start to push extremely hard for all of these things to happen.
He's gonna have a lot of
And it
powerpoints
doesn't,
ready.
yeah, he's gonna have a crap ton of PowerPoints ready to try to persuade Trump, new individual who comes in office, if he is still on this earth at that time. But it's just
I mean,
yes, very interesting to see that we're seeing hidden on both sides, on the Israeli side and the American side, that our leaders are older and we're seeing their health being hidden from us, just as we saw with Biden. That's something that should not have happened either. Biden's health should have been laid out right in front of us, and it wasn't, and that led to Democrats getting killed. We're seeing the same thing happen with Trump, and as we also announcing and reporting with Netanyahu as well. And now we're going to move
Anyway, I
into
want to
a
add a
lot
little
of,
bit there at the end, actually,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I
I
think
was
also a
just going to say we're
big
going to move
part
into
of
Taiwan
what's
after that, but yeah.
yeah, I want to figure before we shift into the next subject while we're still on the matter. I think also a big part of what's fueling it. I mean, we've got nationalism on the Israeli side. You know, they're going for that Greater Israel project, and you know, if someone like Ben Gvir or Smotrich gets involved, gets elected for the next prime minister position, like, we'll still likely see maybe even more extremist what we're seeing than what we're seeing now from Netanyahu. But I think a big part of what's fueling this push on all ends from both Trump and Netanyahu is the idea of like time is running out. You know, they are old
Yeah.
men. They are sick. Even then, even if they weren't old and sick, they'd be running out of their political terms. You know, Trump's, this is his
Yeah.
last term. He's only got a few more years. He's talked about trying to stay. We all know it's not going to happen. It's literally impossible. You know, he's been struck down by the court multiple times. He'll be struck down by the court again. They and
Yeah, we hope so.
yeah, it's an amendment in the Constitution. You know,
We
you're
hope
not
so.
beating that. They
Mind you, they do need, so like,
And before we get off topic, before deeper into
yeah, yeah,
that, and I want to say like also like, you know, we've seen like Trump has, you know, issues with his heart. You know, we've seen like thick ankles. That's a sign of heart disease. You know, because your
yeah,
heart can't work hard enough to get that blood up out of your ankles, so it just sits there and your
yeah,
ankles thicken. We've got, you know, Netanyahu with, you know, prostate cancer and more being, and that's been a rumor for years now. Actually, that he's had prostate cancer.
yeah,
They and I think all this is really just culminating in the fact that, to add as well, Netanyahu said he has like a personal vision for the Greater Israel project. I feel like he's personally a part of it to lead it. So I think all of this as well is just these old men wanting to make their name known while before they die even more. And I think it's how they're going about it. They're not going to agree in a peace deal. Honestly, I don't see it.
yeah. No, yeah, the peace deals. There's no peace deals gonna end up happening by the time this upcoming weekend comes.
It's
But
possible if one midterms come in, maybe the U.S. will be more forceful about their end of things. They'd be
yeah, I
like, you
mean,
can deal with Israel
we'll see.
alone. We're out of it. I doubt that.
I mean, if those 2 points, if United States is not going to drop those 2 points, we will never, ever, ever reach a deal with Iran. It's going to be until 2028. This war continues on if we
Yeah.
do not drop the no enrichment and now the recognizing of Israel. But to Muhammad's point about Trump possibly wanting to state, and it's important to note that actually you need 2/3 of Congress. Sorry, 2/3 of state legislators, like legislatures, as in like the actual bodies
Big
of
government.
government,
Yeah.
not the actual individuals. But you need 2/3 of state legislators to be able to overturn and or introduce a new constitutional amendment.
It's a big damn
So
deal.
it's a huge threshold to cross
Yeah.
over, but
I'm glad the
it
founding
starts
fathers
to
put
add
such a big,
on
clear thing in
redistricting,
it.
on voting rights, the the Voting Rights Act, Section 2, the whole gathering of voter data and voter files from these various states, Georgia as being one of them. Yes, someone shot this theory out, and I was like, that's not too far shot out of a theory when you think about it, from the redistricting to the Supreme Court, to him just nonchalantly talking about wanting to stay in office
It'll never happen.
for a third term. It starts to make sense.
I can see the
And
logic behind it, and I think it'll fail on all ends. There's no way
yeah,
two
no, I
thirds.
hopefully,
There's
I
no way.
listen, I hope it does fail on all ends, but we shall see once that time comes across in 2028, to see if he's actually willing to leave that White House, because with this
It may be the
slush
first. It may
fund,
be
which
the
is,
first non-peaceful transfer of power. The dude comes out
no, it
kicking
would
and
be the
screaming like
second.
a toddler. Who?
Technically, it would be the second with
Oh
January
yeah,
6th in the
January
books. It would be
6th.
the
Yeah,
second
true,
time
true. I
that
forgot.
it
Honestly,
happened.
I forgot about that.
You can't forget about January 6th, even though DOJ is trying to make you forget about January 6th, which we're going to get into in the domestic piece. But I want to finish up with the Taiwan arms sale pause, which is very important to really think about. So, on the Asian front, this is post the China summit. The U.S. is pausing its, mind you, largest ever Taiwan arms sale, valued at around $14 billion, including Patriot Pack three interceptors, and NASAMS systems to preserve munitions for potential Iran operations. This is all regarding Operation Epic Fury or Epic Failure, however you want to put that together. But Taiwan's government says it has not been formally notified of the delay, expressing concern over deterrence against China. Some U.S. sources claim sales are unrelated and processed over years with ample stockpiles available. So it's interesting to know that after this whole summit, and as well as with the Chinese delegation stating that the United States should be wary when it comes to arms sales with Taiwan, that we are now seeing the largest ever Taiwan arms sales now being paused to now allow China to encroach even more on Taiwan, solidifying Taiwan as being China 2.0 and not even an independent country. But it is very important to note that this arms deal was shot down after this China summit, and as well speaks to how Trump talks the tough, but he's not walking it because he would have just allowed this arms sale to still continue. But he understood that Xi Jinping is not playing around about Taiwan, and he is not wanting any arms sales to continue to Taiwan, and the fact that they can deter themselves from any China encroachment that happens. And we're seeing that he is, bending the knee to China and allowing for this pause to take place. So we will see what continues to develop in that South Asia region because it is very much just as important as what's going on within the Middle East and domestically, which we are going to turn to next. But Mohammed, what do you have?
Uh, I think it'll be interesting to really see what's going on. It's a lot hard to tell. If this is actual s- bureaucracy being involved with how things work with regulations and more, or is this is actually U.S. backing the knee down. They If it is, I mean, I remember back when the U.S. first, it wasn't when they struck Iran. I think it actually was when they struck Iran the first time with the B-2 bombers, to the Buster bombers. They
Midnight Operation Midnight Hammer.
there was rumors going around that U.S., China, and Russia had a secret agreement that
Yeah.
U.S. They would all not get involved with each other going for like the territory grab and what the place they were going for. U.S. Or the militant attack. U.S. with Iran, Russia with Ukraine, and China with Taiwan. So it will be interesting to see in the coming months, weeks to months, how much legitimacy there is to possibly to that. I mean, years while Trump's still president, to see if China does make a move. Because I think
Yeah,
if
yeah, I
they
was gonna
would
say
make a move, the best time would be during his presidency.
no, 100%. I think there is some evidence towards that. I mean, you've had Venezuela, obviously the largest exporter to China.
Yeah,
China didn't do anything.
anything.
They didn't do anything. They just let it happen,
And now with
even
Iran
though
too.
they do get a lot of their oil from China. But what they did do, they just took the back seat and let this whole thing with Iran just play out and have now been supplying that region with as much oil as they can. But yes, I think this all started after the whole Venezuela thing that there was a some memorandum of understanding that that Monroe Doctrine is very much intact in current times. Is that we're not going to meddle in what's going on across the ocean, and they're not going to be meddle in what's going on across the ocean on their front. But we will see if that ends up being the case as the international stage increasingly continues to update and ever more change. But be sure that I will be pulling out my hair trying to make sure that we bring you guys the most updated and accurate news. And now we're going to be moving towards the domestic shakeups because there's a lot that has been going on that domestic footing. First of all, starting with the administration and key figures. First of all, with um, just go in chronological order because Tulsi Gabbard's resignation was first. Tulsi Gabbard has stepped
Chronological.
down.
So many.
Yeah, chronological. You just kind of have to. But Tulsi Gabbard has stepped down as director of national intelligence. She cited her husband's rare bone cancer diagnosis as the main reason,
That's pretty good
planning
damn
to
reason.
Yeah, a perfectly fine reason. I do hope that her husband diagnosis ends up he's able to come out of this okay. Would never want anyone to get cancer of any sort. But she was planning to resign effectively June 30th to support her family, and President Trump praised her work, calling it incredible. And Aaron Lucas will serve as the acting DNI. However, there have been reports of White House pressure and separate allegations involving CIA activities. But the public emphasis is on family priorities, and she is now the fourth cabinet official to depart the Trump's second term. And we even reported a few podcast episodes ago that actually the administration had wanted her out prior to the midterms.
Yeah,
So it's very much
on
so
brand.
that it could be stated that it was top down pressure from the administration, as well as let's get a reasoning, a valid reasoning for you to leave. And I'm not saying that she's using her husband's bone cancer diagnosis as a way to save face for the Trump administration. I just think that Trump administration pressured her so bad that they had to find a way to make it seem like it wasn't coming straight down from them, that there was some other alternative reasoning for the reason that she was not going to continue to be the DNI. And it's unfortunate that she was a former Democrat. Now to see her leaving this post
It is crazy to
as
think that she ran in the Democratic primary. That is
yeah, she
honestly
ran Democratic
crazy to think about.
primary. She threw very great shots at by I mean at
Kamala. Oh, that was good. That
Kamala
was
all the
so good.
time when they were on the stage. It was very moving. She has the white in her hair to honor all of the men and women that she worked with during her time as a as a soldier for the United States Army military. I forget which branch she actually served in, but yes, it is unfortunate to see her go. But this is another resignation that we were spot on about, and the continuing mounting pressure that these officials are facing, especially now looking at JD Vance, who is notably looking at reconsidering his 2028 run, as he has been really the only opposition voice with this whole Middle East war, which has left him somewhat isolated amid this conflict. And sources say he's concerned about campaigning on the current record,
Yeah.
plus with family considerations and with a new child expected this summer. But it's important to
Honestly,
note
smart
that
idea to back away, all things considered. Because
100%
think of
smart
you
idea.
give it
Just have
like
Rubio take everything to the face. He is going to be the poster boy for MAGA and Trump post
and Rubio honestly is the
2028.
one who
Like,
works with Trump to get a lot of this stuff done. Vance is just the VP, you
yeah, he's
know?
just a VP. Like, Rubio has got like 10 different jobs, literally. So he's
Yes.
literally set up to run on this Trump uh, promises and all of the legislative pressures that he's applied on the Republicans, because they're splitting at this point. I mean, he's basically made himself into a lame duck without even having ballots being cast in the midterm election yet.
Yeah.
But
I mean, honestly, I think like takes what few years off, 4 8 years off, lets the whole Trump MAGA wave go away. You know, allows like the new
yeah,
brand of republicanism,
yeah,
conservatism to come in. Steps up like, hey, I disagree with a lot of these things. You guys knew that XYZ runs probably for Congress in his state that he's in, or probably just goes for president. I mean, I'd imagine that he'd want to be a little bit smarter, but I do think him
yeah. I
stepping
mean, he
down
could
from this
very
is the
much
best
run
choice.
for the presidency as Republican, and just try to split up the vote, and they go with Vance, and they just put up the weaker candidate between Vance and Rubio, and that leads to Democrats to win ultimately. I mean, he very well could shoot the Republicans in the foot because he's being so sidelined to the side. And that takes me to the points of back to bringing House of Cards when Frank Underwood became vice president. He said there's two vice presidents. You either the Matt or the Matador. And JD Vance is very much the Matt.
Yeah.
He's very much being walked all over on. A lot of his initiatives aren't being even pushed up at any point. I mean, you barely see him Besides today with him, talking about fraud and all of this stuff, like even when they went over to when Kushner Witkoff went over to the negotiations, he was literally left to do a live stream with I think the live stream was with oh my God, one of the Paul brothers, Jake Paul. Yeah, Jake I think who's the bigger one?
Logan's the bigger one.
Yeah, Logan
No,
Paul
wait,
and the
damn it. Now I'm like
what's
confusing myself. Which one is the
yeah,
bigger
I can
one?
confuse.
I
Yeah,
know the
but
face, but I
yeah,
don't know if the face I'm thinking is Jake or Logan.
yeah, he literally was left to do a live stream with him. And I think one of the I forget how to pronounce Calvindish or Calvinder individual
Yeah,
who's very alt right and so forth. But like he was literally left to do that while they were over in Iran negotiating.
yeah,
And it's like he sees that he is a mat and not a
yeah,
matador in this whole VP position, of course.
yeah.
But Rubio, seems like he is going to be the leading ticket. Secretary Marco Rubio is gaining significant influence and is described by some as, having more authority than any recent predecessor when it comes to the Department of State, which he definitely has.
Yeah.
He has very large latitude. I
He's a
say large
busy man.
latitude.
He is a busy man. Like if he does,
He's 100% a busy man. Busy
I
man
can't
with what he
imagine
has.
going from the hectic, burnt out, high energy of this administration and then immediately going for a presidential run. I could not do it.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty burnt out, but he's going to be the voice that they need to try to pull in a lot of those Hispanic voters that feel disillusioned from this Trump administration. And they very well may buy it and they very well may vote for him, but it's going to be up to the Democrats to really show the face of this administration and how it has really hurt not just Hispanics, but Americans across the board. I've been talked about that. We just continuously spread the hate on the Trump administration, and never talk about the good that this administration does. So I actually did a little bit of a deep dive into this administration and Biden's administration, and looking into it over on an overall standpoint. Trump's policies have been detrimental to Americans. So it's not even in the sense that I am talking from a point of disagreement and or from a point frustration with this president. It's the point of facts, that the fact that his policies are really hurting
Facts don't
Americans,
care
and you
about
can
your
even
feelings.
see they're hurting them so bad that his own vice president doesn't want to run on his coattails.
Yeah,
Could you like could you just imagine?
yeah.
Like, I mean, that was I truly put that on Biden's fault. He should have technically ran after Obama's term was done. He should have on those coattails.
He
Would have
would
been
have
amazing.
lost
But
though, realistically, just based off the pattern of how it goes. Two-term president, it usually switches to the other party. Like, all right, let's give this other guy a try now.
yeah, but I think he would have been better than Hillary Clinton's time around. I
Oh,
think it would have been a
absolutely,
way
I
better
think so
matchup.
too.
I think the electorate at the time would have been more digestible to a earlier version of Biden compared to what we got
I mean,
in
that's why he got
the
so many votes in
2020s. You know what I
2020s because
mean?
people thought he was that younger Biden that was like the VP of Obama, and then we see him in office and
Yeah.
go, no, this isn't. But this isn't the VP anymore. This is an old man.
Yeah,
And
he's very much an old man, and we're gonna get
and wait, I
to
want to add a little bit to
yeah,
that
yeah.
also, because you mentioned Clinton. A huge thing that was very popular was accusing her of like being complicit in Benghazi, of like those
Oh
U.S.
my gosh.
servicemen who died because they didn't get her an answer in time. And
Yeah.
so I do think that she really was one of the worst possible candidates the Democrats could have
Oh,
went with,
100%.
and they went with
100%.
her just because of who she was and corrupt. Now, I wouldn't say corruption because that indicates something very malicious, but it is a bit of corruption when, when there was reports going around that New York primaries are being shut down early in certain locations that were Bernie heavy. And it's like,
Well,
why?
oh, 100%.
Why are polling boxes being moved from these areas? Why are polling locations being moved from Bernie heavy areas away from her? And it's just how she gets so many super majority delegates right
Yeah.
away.
I mean,
XYZ.
even now.
There was a lot of corruption in play. There's a lot of corruption in politics, but there wasn't that in play to get Clinton that spot. And the Democrats literally shot themselves in the foot with it.
Oh yeah, and I can honestly say I think they're going to shoot themselves in the foot again because it's apparently being reported. This does not have to do with the notes at all. It's just something that I remembered as I was reading, but they are very much looking at not doing conventions because progressives are winning across the board, and the tide is turning where they want to have these centrist incumbents kind of stay in power, but no, these progressives, the AOC, Bernie, Mandami. I mean, Mandami is doing numbers. New
I mean,
York is literally at the golden age right now. You
what
got
do
the
centrists
Knicks,
have to offer?
like
On,
I mean,
what do
the
centrists have
centrist
to
is kind of like
offer?
what Spanberg just did. She just did something on medical marijuana that wasn't like Democratic. Wasn't Democrat. Wasn't a progressive Democrat idea. It was more centrist. What she did, I literally forget what she did, but I had to do something with recreational medical marijuana. And I think she like restricted it even further or something of that nature. But yeah, not really a good look. And people were like, "Why do we even have centrist Democrats when we got progressives that are winning across the board?"
I
But
mean, I'd much rather vote for a progressive than a centrist all
yes, I
day.
mean,
So
so I
when I
mean,
think of
yeah.
voting for a centrist, I think I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get nothing.
You're gonna
That's
get the same
really
thing
what
that
I
you've been
think.
getting, basically.
Yeah.
Basically, you're gonna get the same thing that you've been getting, and yeah, basically, and people are tired of that, and it's very important to know that they are tired of it. I mean, the DNC came out with their autopsy report, blaming the issue of Gaza, blaming even the White House for not effectively preparing Kamala Harris. But how could you fault them?
Yeah.
He was literally pushed out by the DNC. So
Yeah.
how do you fault him for trying to prepare his predecessor, who basically poached him from his spot to have him not run for re-election? I literally remember sitting at the pool with my girlfriend on a Sunday at like 11 o'clock on my phone, got the news. I'm like, wow. And he basically, shot her whole presidency in the foot by not doing that. And I don't blame him at all.
Yeah.
I don't blame him at all one bit. That's basically why you had the Bernie people go for Trump in certain aspects because of what happened with Clinton and the DNC.
Absolutely.
But
I know some people who were planning on voting Bernie who went Trump because they're like, I
yeah,
want somebody
100%
who I
because
feel
of
is more
literally
for the
what
people,
happened
and
with
I
DNC. And if they do not have conventions because of progressives, these incumbents are going to have another thing coming towards them.
yeah.
But as we were speaking on the whole health and Memorial Day sequence. We're going to move to President Trump's Memorial Day appearance and some of his health notes. So President Trump drew attention during Memorial Day events at Arlington as he appeared to doze off or pause with eyes closed during parts of the service with Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. And I actually saw some videos. He was doing I mean, we've all been there before. Uh, I was actually I was actually feeling like that earlier today during one of the commencements that I was at. He had his eyes closed, opened them up real quick, looked left and right, and started patting, his lap, like his legs, basically. And
To
that's like,
make a
wake up.
clapping noise very minimally.
That's like
Yeah.
a wake up scenario. Like, get yourself up, like, let's go. And there were multiple videos of him sleeping, and MAGA is just going to say he's taking long blinks, this, that, and the third. They just don't want to see the light that, he is an old man and that he is sleeping at these events, sleeping at the White House. When the group was talking about maternal leave, he was sleeping at the White House. There are
I
pictures,
remember that.
videos,
I remember that. That's
all
so
of
the
those stuff. I
pictures
think
are
that happened like
so
2 weeks ago.
funny. The
Yeah,
pictures are
literally
so
happened like
funny.
2 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
then with all of this, the following day, he had a scheduled routine annual medical and dental exam at Walter Reed National Medical. I'm sorry, Walter Reed Military Medical Center. With this being his third visit in 13 months, medical commentators have highlighted concerns about daytime salmonellus. I might be saying that wrong, Mohammed, but double check me. And chronic insomnia in older adults, noting potential risk for cognitive effects and increased dementia chances. Mind you, he actually did just put out a new Truth Social post that was literally copy and paste from one that he did like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So these ailing signs are starting to add up. But the video of him sleeping sparks widespread online discussion, with some noting visible bruising on his hands and which has been concealed by makeup. So we're seeing the same thing that happened with Biden. We're seeing an old man, unfortunately, having hidden their ailing health issues, and that's something that the American people needs to have more transparency on. We should not have old individuals running our government that have been in politics since the 50s and 60s. Realistically, like
Yeah.
we need new levels of young talent
And
just
that's what the
across the
28
board.
election is going to be, really. The new Rubio, the 50-year-old Republican, was versus what's probably going to be 50-year-old, 40-year-old Democrat.
No, 100%, 100%,
I can't wait
and
for
it's
that.
going.
Honestly, I don't even care who. I do care who wins, obviously, but it'll be nice to not have old men. It's been 8 years of old men, 12 years of old men actually. It gets frustrating.
No, it very much is frustrating, and we'll see who are the candidates for both parties, and hopefully it is a young individual. But we are going to move to the ballroom piece. Muhammad, take that, and I'll be right back.
I got you. So, in a significant security development over the weekend, a shooting occurred near the White House on Saturday evening, May 23rd. According to the Secret Service, CNN, and the New York Times, 21-year-old Nasir Best from Dundalk, Maryland, shout out to Dundalk, oh my god, approached a security checkpoint near 17th Street and Pennsylvania Avenue Northwest. He pulled a pistol from a bag and opened fire, discharging 15 to 30 shots towards officers in the White House grounds. Secret Service officers returned fire, fatally shooting Best. A bystander was wounded in the incident and is in serious but stable condition after surgery, and they are expected to recover. No Secret Service personnel were injured. For those of you who know about Dundalk, Maryland, this is very in tune for Dundalk. Dundalk is a crazy place. But shout out to Dundalk. President Trump was inside the White House residence at the time and was unharmed. He was briefed and later posted on True Social thanking the Secret Service. This marks the third reported gunfire incident near top U.S. officials in the past month. Court records show Best had a prior history of attempting to enter the White House complex, including blocking a lane in June 2025. Mental health issues, encounters with law enforcement, claims of being Jesus Christ, also in tune with being from Dundalk, Maryland, and a stay away order. The FBI is investigating the motive with mental health factors under scrutiny. So this is, I mean, I I think it's really based off what we're seeing in the reports that my first assumption would be that this is somebody that was definitely a bit mentally ill. I mean, not really much of a
Oh,
plan, but just something
without
he
a
wanted
doubt.
to do, and then just went
Yeah.
about trying to get it done very poorly. This
Yes.
incident has immediately renewed calls from Trump and Republican allies for funding the controversial White House East Wing Ballroom project. Trump has long pushed for a massive 90,000 square foot ballroom capable of seating up to 1,000 as a gift to the nation for state dinners and events, originally estimated at $200 million dollars, and claimed to be privately funded by Trump and donors, including reported contributions from Lockheed Martin, tech giants, and others. Costs have ballooned towards $400 million. Congressional Republicans had sought up to $1 billion in taxpayer funds for related Secret Service security enhancements, including bulletproof elements, drone defenses, and underground facilities tied to broader bills. Senate Republicans recently removed the provision due to insufficient support and optic concerns. Trump and supporters are now leveraging the shooting to argue enhanced on-site secure facilities are essential. Contrasting vulnerabilities at external venues, critics question the high cost and priority amid fiscal debates. I really do. I don't know what his obsession is with this ballroom. I really
Well, you
don't.
know why? I mean, there's going to be a bulletproof facility. It's going to be a hospital in there.
Wants to
There's
live
going
down
to be
there.
situation rooms. This is people on Twitter are like, he's not going to leave.
Yeah.
He's not going to leave. He's going to bunker himself down, and that's all conspiracy theory. That's not a fact that we're stating. It's just that what it's just the level. It's just a school of thought that is now out there from all of the patterns that we've seen since his inauguration in January. Literally, I mean, you line it up from the attacks on voter rolls, from the Supreme Court gutting the Voting Rights Act too, and shout out to South Carolina and Alabama because they are not going through with their maps. Actually,
Really.
they were both shot down. So those are
But how
huge,
are they shot
big
down?
through the court system. I believe for Alabama, it was actually They actually funny enough, and very much kudos to the judge. They used the ruling that the Supreme Court gave and was basically able to turn it on its head to allow Alabama to not put in their new map to basically wipe out all of Democrats as well as with um
Just an overall
what was
ruling across the whole country, basically. Then, if you think about
yeah,
it that way.
basically. So those two states are not going forward with their redistricting. So another blow to the Trump administration. But if you like put all these things together, it lines up into a very eerie and unfortunate situation where we could have where this man does not want to leave power. And it's not as I've stated. I'm going to state it again. This is not me stating this as a fact. This is just the theories and school of thoughts that are out there. It is dangerous thought given because we would never want the president to stay in power for longer than they are constitutionally supposed to. Special treatment given to FDR, given World War II, but that literally should be the only um,
And will forever be the only exception
cushion
because they
room.
brought in the
Yeah, it
amendment
should be
to
only cushion room and exception ever available unless we are in
because it was
another
legal
war of
then,
that
and then he
magnitude.
did it, and then they made it illegal. That's it.
Yes, yeah,
That's it.
basically.
That's literally
Basically,
it.
and this whole ballroom is going to be a headache when these senators and House Republicans all come back in June because they are all in recess. But this is going to be their battle to fight because Democrats are not going to join them in any vote on this. And hopefully, they realize that this is just a nonsensical use of, once again, taxpayer dollars, just like this nonsensical $1.7 billion slush funds that Republicans are effectively shooting down and asking questions and grilling the Attorney General Todd Blanche about. They had a closed door meeting before the Memorial Day weekend started, and yeah, he did no much better in advocating for the need of that slush fund and so forth. But as that development continues, we will definitely bring you the most updated information. Now we're going to move into tech and economy as the AI bubble warning signs continue. So there are now cracks showing in the AI boom. Uber's COO and CTO have said that the company isn't seeing productivity gains that match rising AI cost. They exhausted their full 2026 AI budget by April after giving tools like Claude to thousands of engineers, with some power users hitting 500 to 2,000 in monthly token fees. Microsoft, despite partnerships, reportedly pulled engineers from internal Claude code usage due to unsustainable bills, ending most access by June 30th in some divisions. NVIDIA team leaders have admitted compute cost now exceed human salaries in some areas. Analysts estimate that AI is contributing to a net job loss of around 16,000 US jobs per month. And the
I don't think
deeper
that's
issue
very
appears.
surprising to most people,
No, not
honestly.
surprising. Ah, stop. Not surprising at all. Goddamn dog. Not surprising at all, but the deeper issue appears to be circular funding loops with big tech money flowing to startups and straight back to cloud providers. That's that funny meme you always see of the extension cord with two plugs in itself. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
basically what it all is, and that's basically what's kind of been keeping the economy afloat. Is all of these AI companies just sending money back and forth to each other, keeping each other solvent in many forms.
My
But
company's been making good money with all the AI data centers because they provide storage and modular solutions to what into like new
yeah,
construction sites. So the more things, just not in specific to AI, just more things are being constructed, the better we are off. So
yeah, but I
there's
mean, it's
been
a
this is
very
they've this has been like the top thing people have been building really on a large scale.
yeah, 100%. AI data centers are exorbitant and how they have been and how they have started to be propped up left and right and just sucking out resources from various communities. But I am all for this failure in AI when it comes to the replacement of jobs. I'm all for one to use it in a supplemental usage of the job to help streamline things for the individual. But I am not one that is for removing the individual and having AI be that streamline.
Yeah.
because obviously we're seeing now the pushback and the amount of tokens and as well as the cost to use AI. And I am gladly willing to join Pope Leo's crusade against AI. I don't know if you saw this over the weekend, Muhammad. The Pope took out a very interesting, lengthy article about AI, and it's also important to know that Peter Thiel and leaked documents and comments advised figures like Vance, basically criticizing the Pope as being a woke American Pope and a potential tool for the Antichrist, and urging disregard of Vatican moral guidance on AI. You're gonna have this guy, Peter Thiel, the head of Palantir, the head of almost the surveillance state within AI within the United States, have him come out against the Pope and saying for JD Vance to not even take the Pope's moral guidance on AI. I'm like, what
Crazy,
do we do?
especially because JD is
What?
Catholic too. He's like,
Yeah,
don't listen to the guy who you think speaks to God. You know what I
literally.
mean?
And mind you, that don't forget the last time JD visited a Pope, the Pope passed away.
Oh yeah, he like passed away
Yeah,
like
when
three
he
days later.
yeah, like 3 days later after JD Vance saw him. But yes, Pope Leo released his first landmark and I'm just gonna say a first landmark document. Let's just say that, which was released signed in May 15th, released May 25th, urging strong ethical regulations on AI. The roughly 42,300 word document calls for constraints on lethal military uses, slowing unchecked acceleration, and directing technology toward the common good, human dignity, social justice, and protecting against job displacement and power concentration. And that's really all a lot of Americans really want with AI. They don't want to see it as a replacement, they want to see it as a supplement. And
Yeah,
I think
like
that's the
something to
real
to
key.
do the things so we don't need to do them, and we still can
Exactly.
live without having to work in a sense.
Exactly.
Like
I mean,
not even
and
like
there's
I'm
no
not.
reasoning that that can't be the case. I mean,
Yeah,
even with the early AI models that came out, people were able to use them. I was able to use them in work settings, but I never felt like that would be the thing that would be the main individual within the job doing everything. Like I think as these costs start coming out more and more, as this adoption has been rapidly pushed, there will be a turn back to the average worker as this whole AI becomes way too costly for companies to scale realistically. And even unfortunately, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink has noted that the massive data centers that Muhammad was talking about and power investments will largely draw from ordinary people's pensions and savings accounts. Just think about that. They're going to dip into your accounts the same way that the bank does when it gives out loans to facilitate and finance these data centers. They're going to go into all of your investments, your pensions, and all of these savings accounts to be able to use that money to front these data centers. That is what this is heading to, or at least this is what BlackRock, who is leading in this industry, especially on the real estate side of things, is really seeing as the future of the United States. And that is very unfortunate when you have high credit card delinquencies. I just shared with Muhammad, you have 42% of new graduates being underemployed. I think about 42 or 47%. Almost 50% of individuals being not employed after graduation was like literally all I could think about when I was sitting at a community college commencement today. And it's sad that we're seeing our leaders within this industry speaking out against the moral high ground and moral guidance on AI when really that's the guidance AI needs now more than ever before. Um, Pandora's box is fully opened and the lock will never close again. We are truly heading towards that time to where the fantasy world of Skynet is very, very much so a reality on many faces. But we are going to be moving now to the Capitol Hill gridlock and congressional races. Mohammed, and do you have anything else for that last AI section before we go? Excuse me. He does not. So we're going to move on. So, looking at the War Powers Save Act tensions and legislative pileup. So, on Capitol Hill, the House and Senate are in recess, maneuvering various pieces of legislation. House Republicans pulled actually a War Powers resolution on Iran because they lacked the votes to defeat it. Think about that. They all went home. The House went home during Memorial Day weekend because they knew they did not have the votes to defeat this war powers resolution, which is now going to postpone it until after recess and averting a potential loss for Trump. Internal GOP tensions are rising. Some factions are planning primary challenges against Senate Leader John Thune if the SAVE Act doesn't advance for the 2026 midterms. Trump has been openly pressuring members like Brian Fitzpatrick in a key Pennsylvania district. And this really talks to what I was mentioning about Trump isolating his own majorities in the House and even in the Senate primarily. Just looking at Susan Collins, who's in a tight race, potentially may lose to Grant Plattner. You have Bill Cassidy, individual who was primaried and lost his primary. You have Massie, another individual that is just within that same group. You have Crine as well, with their election taking place today in Crine and Paxton, Texas. So you have about like 4 or 5 individuals who have no allegiance towards Trump. So he's already demonizing and losing his threshold within the Senate, and it's only going to soon happen quicker in the House as November fastly approaches. And continuing on, the Senate left without passing new immigration funding, as well as there's ongoing conflicts over the reconciliation bill and the so-called anti-weaponization fund and efforts around audits. The DOJ is also facing accusation of scrubbing the January 6 related web pages and news releases because they don't want you to see all of the footage that took place during January 6th. They're trying to wipe clean what took place, and that should not be the case. Individuals should remember what happened. All that footage is out there, and that event did take place. That did happen. Republicans did storm the Capitol because they were upset over the election results, and they very much tried to hang Mike Pence, kill Nancy
I
Pelosi,
shouldn't laugh
and
at that. Okay, I
attack
shouldn't laugh
everywhere.
at that, but that's a hell of a sentence.
No, I mean they did. They walked in there with
Hang Mike
nooses to
Pence. I've
kill
ever seen
literally
videos of
Mike
the
Pence,
chanting, Hang
and
Mike Pence.
we want these degenerate losers. I mean, a lot of them have come out as child abusers, red dot sexual predators. This is all reported. I'm just not speaking on what I think they are. This is what is reported, and I am happy enough to pull the actual police reporting on all of these individuals. But it's the fact that we're going to have taxpayer money go to them in a fund just because the president feels like these individuals were weaponized against for the government. It's like, have you not had a conversation with black people in regard to reparations? I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, what are we doing? Like, we want to shoot down reparations for black people and not say that slavery was one of the most heinous crimes, but yet we want to give 1.7 billion to literal losers that tried to take over the Capitol over what was a duly election,
Yeah.
tried to hang his own vice president at the time. I'm like, do people truly not understand the gravity of the situation that took place on January 6th? They clearly do not. And that is something that we cannot let be fall down to the wayside. Just how the Jewish population does not let the Holocaust fall on deaf ears.
Which they got
January
reparations for.
6th should be the same exact way. It was attacked on
That's
our
a crazy
nation's capital.
comparison. Hold on. That's a crazy comparison.
No, it's no.
Comparing January 6th to the
Catch
Holocaust is
catch
kind of
how
crazy.
catch how I'm having the comparisons.
Explain it. Yeah, explain. I'll give you a
One
chance.
is that Jewish population will never let the people forget about January 6th. I mean, about the Holocaust.
About the Holocaust.
And that's
Yeah.
the same thing that we should have in the United States. We
All
just
right.
as
All
we
right. All
don't
right.
let
All
people
right.
forget about
When you put it
9/11,
that way, it makes sense
we
why you
should
compare
not
the two.
allow people to forget January 6th. Why should
Never
we?
again.
Why should we? They literally like I literally remember having that on the TV. I was like, ain't no way this is happening. Ain't no way they really stormed the Capitol. Ain't no way they really
Eh.
broke into the people's house and just desecrated across the board. And they all got arrested, which is the legal thing to happen. And now he wants a fund for them. I'm just like, that's. I may be going a little far here with this, but like that basically would be like a fund for Nazis after the Holocaust.
I will say that is crazy. That is very crazy to compare it to. I'll just say, in terms of January 6th, I do think a lot of them were just people who were in over their heads and also brainwashed.
Yeah,
And
and now they're gonna feel even more emboldened with this fund.
their rock star
Literally,
all cheerleaders going to be either dead in the next 3 years or out of office. So I don't think there's going to be anything to be concerned about from this point on. I do
like
think January 6th is a major thing that we should consider, and like honestly, it is kind of a part of American history as like the first time a president didn't go out with peaceful power exchange.
it's
Then
probably the first time since the Civil War you had Americans attack the Capitol.
yeah, yeah.
That's why it really just can't be like, oh, it just happened. Like, oh,
There was no
whatever.
military though. That's why it's like
Like
it just happened. Like if military was involved, like if a state guard, like a state national guard, try to get involved, then it would be an issue. If state legislators try to
Capitol
vote for
police
Trump to
officers were
disapprove things, then it'd be an
injured,
issue.
shot, hospitalized. You don't see them being eligible for this fund. They can say whatever they want, but until the actual, I mean, it's still, skeptical to pass regardless, which is shout out to the Senate Republicans for actually having a brain on this. The House caucus, I have no clue what they're doing over there. But yeah, it is just insane that we're going to sit here and allocate $1.7 billion to these individuals that literally tried to wanted to hang the vice president, kill Nancy Pelosi, and also kill anyone else and target anyone else that did not agree with Trump. That is the issue. That can't just be swept under the rug and, oh, we'll move on for this. We'll just be a better country. No, because that's what
Yeah.
happened with the Civil War, and then you had the voting rights section removed, and what immediately happened? Boom. All they try to do is just remove all of these black districts that have been there since the Voting Rights Act was there, and then that have been initiated from the Emancipation Proclamation, where you had so many individuals, black individuals, move into these states. Yeah, it just can't be forgotten and left to the side. And I fear that is going to be the case. And 2028 rolls around, we may have a very worse situation, or if House Republicans and Senate Republicans can have a backbone, it will be a very nice and easy, smooth transfer of power. But it's going to be up to them, unfortunately.
It'd be fine to
It
me,
really is going to be
honestly.
up to them.
Like if someone dies, it would be sad. If multiple people die, it would be sad. But if it happens again and people just show up and like get all angry and like break shit
What do you mean? The
and
girl,
then get
the
arrested,
one
I would
the one
really
lady
laugh.
died trying to break into one of the chambers, and the police officer shot her.
Yeah.
Like, that death wouldn't have happened if they didn't think that they could take the Capitol. I'm
Oh yeah,
like,
I mean it's their fault.
like,
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
that's what I
Like,
mean. But it was just that she didn't have. This is what I mean. It was just a bunch of people without weapons, without gun. They just literally showed up without a plan. They're like, all right, well, we're mad that we lost. Let's riot. It was literally just a MAGA riot. That's all it was. And I don't think people say insurrection, and I understand why you say that because the idea of why they're
no, it
rioting is
definitely is an
because they
insurrection
disagree
because
with
they
the
were.
voting.
Well, no, it's not just that. They were trying to stop the certification of an
Yeah,
election.
they disagree with the
That's really
results, so
what
they
they were
wanted
doing,
to
because
stop
that's
it.
what
And
they
they
were
wanted to
doing
get
at
their
that day.
guy.
They were certifying the election. They were trying to stop it. That is illegal outright.
Absolutely, that's why I got
Yeah.
arrested. But it's not like it was like state guards. It's not like it was lawmakers from other states joining in. It's not like it was federal
It's
congressmen
technically
that was
quote
joining in.
unquote militia.
I mean,
It's
they didn't
militia.
have weapons though. If they had they brought weapons, I'd agree. It was a militia, but they didn't have weapons. They
No, no,
just
no.
literally
I
showed up
mean,
without a plan.
I, I mean, the definition of weapons can be very spread apart,
But
to
no
say the
guns. In
least.
America, when you think of weapons, you think of like, especially militia, you think a lot of people are armed with guns. They didn't have
Well,
guns.
I'm
If they
thinking
did
more on
have
like
guns,
the
it would have been a
legal. I'm thinking more on
far
the
bigger
legal.
issue.
I'm thinking more in the legal terms. A weapon is anything.
Oh
A
yeah, in
weapon is
legal
your
terms,
fist.
yeah,
A
but in
weapon
the
is a
American
crowbar. A weapon
sense,
is a pipe, and that's what these individuals had. They had weapons. No matter no, they might not have had a gun. They might not have had an assault rifle. It doesn't matter. They can still get to you with pipe they had in their hand, their fists, their zip ties, or whatever they had. Their
man,
poster
point me
boards,
to a
all that
militia
stuff.
run with pipes, and then I'll point you to a bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think militia would be a fair term to use. I think it was just a bunch of a large group of angry individuals who wanted to stop the election results because they lost and they were angry about it and couldn't handle their emotions. I think that's all it was. I don't think if the military got involved, if the government members got involved, the legislators got involved, if militias like state militias got involved, if any kind of actual armed group got involved, it would be a far bigger deal to me personally. This is just me saying for me personally. And I still think it's a big deal because, like I said, it's the first non-peaceful transfer of power in modern United States history. You know, that is a big deal. Like, this is not how we should do things. This isn't how you take the fact that you lost.
So
But
just to add the breadth of definitions to this,
yeah, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
organized militia. This consists of the National Guard and the Naval Militia. They serve as reserve components of the U.S. Armed Forces, but can also be activated by state governors or local defense and emergency responses. Unorganized militia. This consists of able-bodied citizens and those who have declared intent to become citizens regularly between the ages of 17 and 45 who are not part of the National Guard. These individuals are generally not active, but represent a manpower pool that can be called upon in times of severe crisis. So, in times of severe crisis, they felt like this was a time of severe crisis. You even had the rally prior to all of this happening.
Yeah, that's honestly so funny.
And
Like, they were getting
yeah,
hammered, they
like
were
if
getting drunk.
yeah,
Let's do this.
if you put the whole picture out there, the definition fits.
Nah,
The whole picture needs to be out there. I mean, he had the
it
rally, he
was a
called
dis.
for it.
They didn't have enough weapons for me
They
to feel
walked
like.
down to the Capitol, and then all of that stuff took place. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. The tweets are out there as well
Oh, don't
about
get me
it.
wrong. I know
I
what Trump's
mean,
intent. I know what Trump was intending. He was intending that like his supporters would like show up and like somehow do all the legislative process of stopping it and then getting the military involved. He just wanted to like Trump wanted to get this done the easy way. He wanted to be like, yeah, go ahead and do it, and then it be done. He didn't really care of the repercussions. You know, and I think we're really seeing that now. He still really doesn't care about the repercussions of that day.
no, 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 no. I don't think he does either. But that's also another reasoning why we just can't let it just slip.
Yeah.
That's literally the reasoning why. Because once it's forgotten about, it will just become history,
Mm-hmm.
and history often rhymes and repeats. And not saying it can't happen again, not saying it literally can't happen again. But moving on to our last section here, miscellaneous quick hits. So we have wrapping up with a few other stories making waves. I kind of talked about this before we ended our last podcast, but podcast and influencer. Um, I think it's Ashley St. Clair, I believe is her name, railing against Elon Musk alongside Hassan Piker. And also, Hassan Piker has been receiving a subpoena regarding his unsanctioned stay at a Cuba hotel. But apparently,
Unsanctioned
that was
stay. That's
actually
crazy.
that was actually Nick Shirley. Apparently, that stayed at that hotel, and that Hassan actually set that up as a fall for news outlets to kind of follow to think that he was actually doing that, but he actually wasn't. But
That's
during
funny.
the live stream, they're basically talking about those lasers that Elon Musk talked about, how he had real time voter data, and how that's kind of impossible to have real time voter data unless you're sitting down and have all that data right in front of you and actually bringing it down yourself. So we'll see what comes from this, if there are any investigations that pop up. I mean, I personally don't think so, but it's also, I just like to bring this news up as it is. It's out there, and it's important for our listeners to know. And just also touching on Hawaii just passed a groundbreaking new campaign finance law, which I think all states should incorporate. I think it caps sewer PACs at about like $5,000 per election cycle. So I think that's a great way to move forward, especially as we've seen $32 million get plunged into the Kentucky race to unseat
Mm-hmm.
Massie and impact just
Crazy,
flaunting over
crazy.
it. A foreign government flaunting over unseating an American and putting in a Israeli agent, basically, at that point. Um, and then there's also been claims that the CIA has been using Ancestry and 32andMe data to search for alleged alien hybrids. Interesting enough. And people kind of think that this comes from the conspiracy about COVID, that the reasoning why they're doing all the mouth swabs and stuff to get individuals' DNA to see, who's alien, who's not alien. But it'll be interesting to see what what comes out from all of that. And finally, the Trump administration is reportedly pushing broader NDAs for government employees. This is to stop the leaking of information, as this administration has been plagued by that pretty much. But as they state, they're the most transparent administration of all time, but it doesn't seem to be the case on many, many, many issues. But that's the current landscape that we have laid out here for you today. Definitely check back. We will have an episode Wednesday. I just want to give this Tuesday a special episode, given that Monday was Memorial Day. But Muhammad, what do you have?
I think that's pretty interesting stuff to see, to hear about. I do think Hawaii making that move is nice. I want to see if other states follow suit and really.
Yeah,
I think that's
I
something
think
that
Illinois
the
might have did
majority of the
something as well, if I'm not
honestly, I think that's
mistaken.
something that easily most of the citizens of this country can get behind is restricting how much a politician can get in terms of campaign finance law. And
Yes,
that's all I have
yes.
to add as well. So I guess it's time to sign off.
Yes, time to sign off. And to our listeners, thank you again for joining us on Behind the Ballot, where we keep politics engaged, balanced, and informative. Stay curious, stay critical, and stay involved. I'm Mikkel Jenkins. And until next time, keep looking beyond the ballot and keep looking beyond the headlines and behind the ballot. And as well, please like, share, subscribe to our YouTube page. The more we can get our channel out there, the more that we can grow our channel and add more as well. We want to make this the best channel possible in terms of politics and updating news. So definitely continue to spread and subscribe. We're at 57. So would love to be at 60 before the month of May is out. But yes, as always, stay curious, stay critical, and catch us next time tomorrow between 6 to 6:30.
And as well, this is Muhammad Alec as well. Thank you guys for listening. God bless America. God bless you all. And I hope you all have a fantastic night.